at time of death, which was somewhere around 12 o'clock.
Well, I would need to rely on a toxicologist to calculate whether that corresponds.
And the propofol analysis, that's kind of hard to tell because it metabolizes so fast. Isn't that correct?
That is part of the reason, yes. Also, we're not sure how much the doctor gave or how fast he gave it.
And you can't even be certain who gave it, can you?
That's correct.
Now, before we left for lunch, you were talking about this 100 milliliter bottle. The top of it has a defect that appears to you to be more like a spike than a syringe. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, why would a person spike a 100 milliliter bottle?
In general, it would be because you would want to set up a constant amount of propofol to maintain sedation.
Spiking the 100 milliliter bottle would also enable you to empty it quicker, wouldn't it?
Quicker than what? I'm not sure I understand.
Well, quicker than, say, a syringe, taking individuals 10 cc syringe level, syringe quantities out.
Yes.
If you wanted to mix propofol in a saline bag, so to speak, be easy, you'd spike it and then pour it into the saline bag, wouldn't you?
Yes, probably.
Propofol, when it's administered by way of drip, is generally administered by putting the propofol into a saline bag and mixing it maybe 1 gram to 1,000 ml, or 2 grams, or 3 grams. Is that correct?
Dr. Craig, as to mixing it in a saline bag.
Do you understand the question?
Well, I'm not sure I do, no.
Okay, re-ask, please.
If a person was going to drip, use a propofol drip, the common way to do that would be to mix it with saline solution, wouldn't it?
That would be one way of doing it, yes.
And in mixing it with saline solution, it's common to see it mixed in ratios of, say, 1 gram per 1,000 ml of saline, 2 grams per 1,000 ml, or 3 grams per 1,000 ml, correct?
Well, I'm not certain what the common ratios would be.
If you wanted to mix 1 gram in 1,000 milliliters of saline, you'd spike a 100 milliliter bottle and empty it in the saline bag, wouldn't you?
Okay, so in that case, you would be placing 1 gram into 1,000 milligrams, 1,000 milliliters of saline. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so that would give you a concentration of
It'd be 1 milligram per 1 milliliter, wouldn't it?
1 milligram per 1 milliliter.
It'd be a 1-to-1 ratio.
Yes.
Propofol is frequently given in a 1-to-1 ratio, or a 2-to-1, or sometimes a 3-to-1, isn't it?
I'm not familiar with how you would dilute it.
Okay. Well, if you were going to use the propofol with an IV bag and you were going to dilute the 1,000 milliliters, it'd be much more efficient to dilute it with a spike than with a syringe, wouldn't it?
Yes.
And emptying a 100 milliliter bottle of propofol into a 1,000 milliliter bag of saline would give you the 1-to-1 mixture, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Now, in the event that that were done, and propofol was administered that way, there would be propofol in an IV bag, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Because propofol is sticky and it has a tendency to stick to the plastic or a container, doesn't it?
Yes.
And in the event you use IV tubing to empty the 100 milliliter IV bag, you would expect to see residue of propofol in the IV tubing also, wouldn't you?
Yes.
Now, in this particular case, have you seen any IV bag or any IV tubing that had any propofol in it?
The criminalist analyzed the bag and the tubing for propofol. I believe the result was that there was no propofol in the bag, no propofol in the tubing that came immediately out of the bag, and then there was a Y connector, and there was propofol after the Y connector.
Okay. The Y connector is below the syringe, where the syringe is inserted, isn't it?
Yes.
The syringe is inserted into the Y connector.
Yes.
And so the only evidence of any propofol in any delivery device is either in the syringe or the Y connector, which would be below the syringe, correct?
Yes.
And that syringe was positive for flumazenil, propofol, and lidocaine, wasn't it?
Yes.
And the Y connector tubing that leads to the injection site was positive for the exact same things, wasn't it?
Yes.
But no IV bag or no IV tubing was ever analyzed as positive for propofol, was it?
The portion that was above the Y connector was not positive for propofol.
Now, if you were going to fill a syringe, say hypothetically with, say 50 milligrams of propofol and dilute it with 5 ml of lidocaine, and that's all you intended to use, you wouldn't use a 100 milliliter bottle, would you?
Objection calls for speculation.
Sustained as the form of the question.
Propofol has a very short shelf life, doesn't it, once it's open?
Yes.
And generally, if you don't use the entire contents of a propofol bottle, and it's open for a period of 6 hours or so, you got to throw it away, don't you?
Yes.
So, and propofol comes in 100 milliliter bottles, and it also comes in 20 milliliter bottles, doesn't it?
Yes.
So if you were just going to use 5 milliliters of propofol, it doesn't make much sense to use a 100 milliliter bottle, does it?
No, it would not.
It'd be a waste of about 95 milliliters, wouldn't it?
Yes, assuming that you weren't going to use any more in 6 hours.
So it'd make much more sense to use a 20 milliliter bottle, correct?
Yes, in that
And
situation.
then you're only wasting
Wait, yes, what?
Yes, in that situation.
and then you're only wasting 15 milliliters, correct?
Yes.
Want to get the terms straight. A milliliter is 1,000th of a liter, correct?
Yes.
And a milligram is 1,000th of a gram.
Yes.
Now, this 100 milliliter bottle of propofol would contain 1,000 milligrams of propofol, wouldn't it?
Well, okay, so you're going to have 10 milligrams per milliliter, I believe, of propofol. I have this written down someplace here. Okay, so propofol is going to be 10 milligrams per milliliter solution. And so And so the situation that you're talking about is 100 milliliters?
100 milliliter bottle would contain 1,000 milligrams of propofol.
That's correct.
And so if it was your intention to draw out 50 milligrams from that bottle, that would leave 950 left in the bottle, wouldn't it?
Yes.
And if it wasn't used the same day, that amount would have to be thrown away, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Now, propofol, when it's administered, you're familiar with the fact that it's mixed in various ratios with lidocaine. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you know why it's mixed with lidocaine?
Yes.
Why is that?
The propofol creates a burning sensation as it goes into the vein, and so the lidocaine is a local anesthetic, and it helps to prevent that burning sensation.
And do you know how propofol is supposed to be administered?
Injection bay.
I mean, okay,
Sustained.
I can clean that up.
Thank you.
Propofol is not supposed to be rapidly pushed in, is it?
No.
It's supposed to be gradually infused. Is that correct?
Yes.
And in Dr. Murray's statement to the police that you read, it indicated that on that evening, he had infused 25 milligrams of propofol over a 3 to 5 minute period. Is that correct?
I think the original transcript said 25 minutes, but I believe there was an issue about that.
Yeah, that was a mistake.
Okay.
The corrected transcript. Can we stipulate the corrected transcript? The time was 3 to 5 minutes.
People stipulate.
Does the defense?
Yes.
Court accepts the stipulation, which means if the parties agree, it's not disputed and the jurors must accept those facts.
Dr. Murray's statement was he infused 25 milligrams over 3 to 5 minutes. Do you have any background that would enable you to determine what level of propofol in the blood that would achieve?
No, I would have to rely on a toxicologist.
Okay. Now, if the propofol was administered 25 milligrams over 3 to 5 minutes, between 10:40 and 10:50, in that time range, do you have an opinion as to whether or not that would produce sleep?
It's likely that it would produce sleep.
And do you have an opinion as to how long that would cause a person to sleep as a result of that propofol?
I believe that he would sleep for a matter of a few minutes.
When you say a few, could you put a number? Like, would that be 2, 3, 4, 5? Would you be able to